Welcome to this quick overview of HMLR service management system. So I'm just going to talk quickly today about some of the core data we hold in our service management system at Land Registry. I'm going to touch on how we've set the system up at a very high level, and then I'll talk you through just how extensively the service management is used across our organisation. So to start off with, what do we actually manage in our Marvel system? So historically, Marvel has always been used to manage our ITIL processes. So we started off using it to help with our IT incident management. We then moved on to problem management, request fulfillment, and as we matured as an organisation, moved on to change management, configuration management, etc. But we haven't rested on our laurels there. We've continued to move forward, and we've looked at ways of utilising the tool across other areas of the business. So like most service management systems, it comes with 4 default record types out of the box. So those being incident, problem, change and request fulfillment. To show just how much we've expanded on that, we now use the tool to manage 45 different record types, and 30 of those are actually for non-IT processes. So our stakeholders have changed. So it's no longer just IT people we work with and IT process owners. We're building strong relationships across our business. So in HMLR Registry's case, this includes lawyers, caseworkers, suggestions coordinators, HR staff, facility staff, and even areas like our market insight team have tapped into the service management tool, and they are provided with a solution using that tool. And there's many more across the business. And we've we look to build these solutions with our stakeholders in a very iterative way. We look to use agile methodologies where we can. So typically we'll work with them. We'll start off with quite basic requirements. So it could be that there's an area of the business that used to deal with queries via emails into a mailbox, and we then show them how that can be replaced with a self-service form, so we can capture the exact information they need, show them the concept of a work list that they can then work from to manage those records. But the interesting thing is we then talk to them about the additional value add of service management and what the tool and using service management principles can add to their support function. So we have conversations around service level agreements, use of knowledge management, etc. So it's very interesting to talk to these people and make them realise the benefits that can be had, so that they can manage customer expectations, they can prioritise workloads using those concepts and the service level functions within the service management suite. So we've been very keen on kind of recycling of IT processes outside of IT to maximise our return on investment in the service management system, to really show true value to the business of our service management system, and ultimately provide almost an enterprise solution now. So how do we do this? What information and data do we design, build and manage in our Marvel system? So firstly, what is very much core to our service management system is data around all of the different services we support. So in total, within our Marvel system, we manage 555 services currently. So 180 of those include all of the IT services from our service portfolio. So each of our business IT services is held in there, along with all of the attributes that support that service. So this is just an extract from the main Marvel application of one of our core business services called Change of Register Application, and this is just a view of the attribute field where you can see some of the additional information that we capture about each of those 180 business services. We also use the service management system to manage the 156 technical services that are IT infrastructure engineers manage to support the different IT infrastructure stacks across the business. So all of our change records in Marvel are logged against one of those 156 technical services. Again, this is just an extract of the different infrastructure stacks and the naming conventions we have in place. So we take each of our services through a journey, through which channels does it come through, what network does it go past, what security infrastructure does it touch upon and utilize, what applications does it use, and so on. So again, all of those are mapped and held within our service management. So our service management system is the source of truth for all of that information. We also embedded in our service management system is our configuration management system. So we have feeds from our asset management database and a couple of discovery tools picking up all of our virtual environments, which map in on a daily basis all of that information. So there are currently about 44,000 active configuration items held within the service management system, and work is ongoing to kind of map out some of the relationships between those and the technical services and the business services that they underpin. A quick example of that here is just a abstract view of our SQL Server technical service. And these are all of the config items and their relationships that is held within our configuration management system in Marvel. We also hold information. This is useful to our customers and our service desk agents when dealing with calls. So we have a total of 6,074 current active knowledge articles. And say some of these are customer facing, so they're passed to our users via the self-service portal, and some of them are available to our service desk agents so that they can refer to when dealing with phone calls from users. So that's just a typical example shown on there of one of our customer-facing knowledge items. So as the user's logging their incident within the self-service portal in Marvel, this is the type of information that's passed to them based on how they record that incident. Moving on, what other data do we kind of manage in Marvel to help us kind of deal with all of this in a logical way? So those 45 record types that we kind of manage in the Marvel system, they're underpinned by various different data sets that we maintain within the system. So there are 280 separate workflow statuses that are contained within 86 different process flows that we manage within the tool. So this is just an example of one of the 86 process flows that we manage in Marvel. So this is the flow for our IT equipment for disposal. Again, say we've got 86 separate processes defined within the tool, each with a bespoke set of statuses and flow to it. Also, underpinning that 45 record types, there are 2,406 classification values held within 198 different classification dictionaries. So again, when we're looking at all of these different record types, each record type has different requirements that we get from the stakeholder for what management information they have. These dictionary values also drive behaviors within the tool. So this is just an example of one of our lawyer referral records, and this is some of the additional kind of dictionary information that we capture for those record types, which again be very different from what we'd capture for, say, an IT incident or an IT change. So there's a whole host of different dictionaries we use to manage all of that data to drive the workflows and provide the management information that is required by the stakeholders. There are also 25 different service level agreements that we manage within the service management tool. Again, all of these are dependent on what the request type is. So there are various rules in place that dictate what service level is tied to what call. So this is just an example of a request for service record, and this is the service level agreement tied to it. So we can see based on the criteria of that request for service, it has a 10-day service level associated to it. Within the tool, each of those SLAs, we define the hours of service, the hours of support, the escalation thresholds, etc. So all of that again is managed and maintained within the tool. To help manage customer expectations, we have 175 email templates. So at certain statuses within the record, these email templates are triggered to the customer to help manage their expectations. So this is just an example of one of the templates in the back end. So if someone logs a staff suggestion through the service management system, this is the email they'll get if that suggestion is approved. And underneath the bonnet, all of that to help drive all of the behaviours of the tool, we have over 1,500 defined business rules within the tool. So, there's an extensive set of logic applied within the tool. And again, this is just a snapshot of the first 12 of the extensive list of 1,500. So these are kind of like, when the service is this is what we want the record to do. So this is all of the kind of business logic that we apply within the tool to make it behave in the way that we need it to behave, in the way that our stakeholders need it to behave. Moving on to our self-service portal. So we've done a lot of work in making this quite bespoke. So what we wanted to do was to make it a one-stop shop for an array of HM laboratory support needs. So underneath the actual front page of our self-service portal, there are actually over 750 tailored forms, all designed to capture the exact information needed for that specific scenario. So what we want to do is reduce as many calls as possible to our different help desks, so that those forms are the preferred route in, and we capture the exact information we need each time, and those records are then prioritized accordingly and sent direct to the relevant support team that needs to deal with them. So upon building that portal, we've really been keen to provide a consistent user experience across that array of support functions. So regardless if you're dealing with an IT incident, a facilities issue, or a suggestion, the actual user journey seems very familiar. So this is just a quick look at our portal here. So we can see if you want to raise a standard request, you come through, and these are the different options on different types of requests you can raise within the self-service portal. Likewise, if you want to report an IT issue, for each of our different business services, there is a bespoke form capturing the exact information that our support engineers need to be able to actually troubleshoot that issue. And this is just an example of the dynamic knowledge articles that appear. So as the user types their brief description, they'll be shown up here relevant knowledge articles which could help them resolve their issue. As I said, we've kind of moved away from the IT area. This is just some of the options that are available to our casework community. So these are people that are doing the business of land registration. So these are just some of the support options that they have for dealing with issues that and requests that really are nothing to do with IT. They are to do with how they deal with their casework. So we've got lots of different options in there to help them support those functions. I mentioned earlier the suggestions scheme. So all of our organisation suggestions are managed through the service management system. So within the self-service portal, this is where they can log and track the progress of those suggestions. So this is the landing page they come to, and then they select the flavour of suggestion they wish to log. We also use knowledge items there so that they can see what suggestions have been previously logged. And this is just a final example of something we've introduced recently around the challenges of working from home. So we were able, using the service management tool, to quite quickly put in place a nice easy mechanism to allow people to request the exact IT kit they required, and then that IT kit could be ordered and delivered direct to their home to enable them to work from home with the exact IT kit that they needed. So just finally going to touch on how big our user base is at Land Registry, and some examples of the actual usage of the tool in terms of numbers. So there are currently 5,550 self-service portal users, so that equates to actually the entire organisation. So every member of the land registry has access to that self-service portal we touched on there. So that is their go-to place for an array of support functions, not just IT support. But we also have now 1,750 agents that are using the main application to manage that array of record types that we talked about earlier. So those 45 different record types are managed by 1,750 different application users, which are split down into 442 different support groups. So each of those support groups have different roles and privileges assigned to them that dictates what they can and cannot do within the tool. So in terms of records logged within the system per month, so on a typical month, we get about 22,000 records logged in the system. This graph here will just show you a quick breakdown of request type. So you can see things like the lawyer referrals here equate for almost a quarter, and then we have IT instance and requests for service. So interestingly, about 60% of the calls that are logged in our service management system now and that are managed in our service management system are for non-IT related functions. So it's quite interesting to see that in actual volumes there. And just to kind of highlight the success of the work we've put into the portal, you can see there that the vast majority of calls that we get in the system are actually, they're routed in through that self-service portal. These ones here in the main applications are the ones that our service desk are taking phone calls for. We then have a number of mailboxes set up that pick up alerts from various monitoring systems, and they automatically create records in the system. And we have a small percentage that are using web APIs from other systems within the land registry. So that's it really. So that's a summary of the main things that we use the service management for a land registry, and a very high level overview of some of the key concepts around how we've set up and configured our systems. So yeah, hope that's useful. Any questions, feel free to email me on that address there.